Do, 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 do. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. Do, 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 do. All right. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. It was Wednesday, Wacky Wednesday today. Today, we're going to be continuing our series on picking targets, and today we're going to be talking about levels. But before we get started, everything we're going to talk about is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So please take a moment to review this disclaimer. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look and see where we left off the market today, and then we're going to take a look at the futures and see what we're up to or down to here this evening and what might be setting up going into tomorrow. And then we'll take a look at the topic, and then we'll go through questions and chart requests. So let's get started. All right, so SPX, guys, down about 5 points here today. Monthly chart red. This actually gets us a little bit concerned, right? We've got plenty of month left. We've had a lot of green months in a row, right? But the red months always start the down moves, right? So if we get a red month, right, we start to work our way down. So we need to see how this month closes. It's been a kind of choppy here so far, as we had the Labor Day weekend, and this is a short week this week. But we'll see how it goes, right? Red on the weekly chart, right? Two kind of narrow range, choppy weeks right here. But you can see the daily chart starting to get a little bit concerning. As we've had a couple down days in a row. We tagged the ADMA yesterday, and we had kind of a weak bounce today. It bounced, right? And we're kind of sitting flat on the ADMA right now, right? So we just kind of need to see what's in store. There is, a bullish hope on this one, as the wave C may be done, right? And so let me just double check here, make sure this is good. Yeah, so that wave C may be done. And what does this mean, right? So basically this means, right, that we kind of had this this 1, 2, oops, not make that capitalized. Make that just a little one, just to show you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So that is actually looking like an expanded flat, right? So we have this A, ABC, B, ABC, and then this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But wait a minute, wave 4 is overlapping wave 1. How is that a valid wave? Well, it could be an ending diagonal, right? So if it's an ending diagonal at the end of an expanding flat, then this could be the start of an impulsive wave up. And in fact, it kind of has its own little leading diagonal type look to it, that banana look to it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Or it could be a leading diagonal for a sharper move down, right? So this could be wave 1. So this could be A, B, right? So we could be looking at a zigzag, and because a faster move down there, or just a larger move down, right? So of that, or like this could be wave 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5 is what I meant to say. So we could see a larger 5-wave move down. There is an open gap right here, right? So that could potentially be targeted if the bears really want to step up. It was interesting price action today, right? If we go to the S&P futures, you can kind of see we had some pretty heavy selling at the open today. We actually pointed this out in the group for a short opportunity here today. As we stayed under the geometric line, we started to get some really heavy volume coming in here on the S&P futures, right? Decent contract sizes, 28,000, 48,000 contracts here. And this is after 10 o'clock, right? That's some heavy selling pressure right there. And so this was a good opportunity here to potentially get short. And you can see here that we worked our way down to a couple levels right here before bouncing, right? So pretty cool stuff there. So we'll take a look at that here in a second. So again, like we said, this week's series, right, is picking targets and using levels. So we use levels all the time in our group, right? We've got lots of different types of levels that we use. We use calculated levels. We also use levels that are significant areas of interest, right? And you can also use pivot levels, right, as areas of interest too, like turning point levels of targets, potential targets. So let's take a look at this here on the S&P futures when we're looking at this short opportunity. Where are we going to go, right? What's our area of interest, right? So the big level today, and this started to happen right away that we were kind of concerned about, was the open gap. Right, so this from 8/27, from the 27th of August. That's this level right here. So we put these out every morning in our bubble report for our bubble report subscribers, and in our group. And in the group, we actually share all the levels. So all you got to do is just upload it into your TOS. So if you like to trade futures, or like to use the futures to help you trade other stuff like the SPY, SPX, or just to get a good feel of the market to see if you got headwinds or tailwinds, right? This can really help. And these levels are really important. They can help you give good targets, right? So when you start to see things break down, right, when you trade off of levels, well, once we lose the open gap, right, what you can do is you can just put it's easy with, not necessarily easy, but it's reasonable with futures. All you got to do is put a stop above the level and then go to your next level down, right? And so here we had the 827 VPOC that got taken out. We got more volumes down. We got to the overnight lows. And once we went lows to the overnight lows, look at that. We bounced off of the 827 was a big day. We bounced off of the single print level almost, in fact, to the tick, and we hit those to the tick before bouncing, and then we put in a harmonic move right here, a nice retrace, right, retesting the overnight lows, and then back to the next levels. So trading off of levels is very, very powerful stuff. It can give you good risk reward opportunities, especially if you know what you're doing. Especially, and what I mean by that is, I mean, yeah, you know, you're doing your experience and all that stuff, but you gotta, you can't just do it on low volume and hope we hit to the level. I mean, here we got from level to level, but it was a choppy, sloppy mess. No one wants to do that when you're trading the ES, right? But when you start seeing this volume coming in, some really selling pressure, then the levels really start to stand out, and you start to see those, and you can really target it. You can be like, okay, I want to enter here. Once we break these levels, my stop is going to be above these levels up here, right? So you got like basically a 1-point stop with the potential to make, right? We talked about that yesterday, right? So you kind of have your stop right here. There's your risk, right? And your reward potential is here, right, to the next level. And as long as the reward potential is greater than the risk, right, and the setup is good, right, meaning increasing volume and some momentum in this case, then it makes sense to take the trade, right? So because your reward, the reason we want reward to be bigger than risk, because why would we risk anything, right, without the opportunity to make at least as much as we were making what we were risking, and ideally more, right? So we like to see a bigger reward potential than the risk, and that gives us, we see a setup, right, that really helps us. So that's a great example right here with the S&P futures, right? And we can do it anywhere too, on any other type of stock or swing opportunities, things like that, right? So a lot of the things that we look at, just for instance, let's take a look at Netflix on the daily chart, right? So it had a really big move recently. And so one of the things that we look at are levels, right? And so we can see here is that Netflix gave a really big breakout move right here, but going long right here, right, getting to this level right here, you really have to know your stops and know where you're at, right? So there's not really good risk reward right here. But once we cleared a couple of these levels, right, this level right here, very, very important, right? Once we cleared that here with some nice, with a nice candle right here, then, right, we've got the next level, which is your all-time highs, right, is the next major one, right? And so you can see here, when we're looking at swings and we're trying to ride some momentum, right, we can see is here off of this entry, we would put our stop at the bottom of this candle, right, off of this entry. And you can see it pulled back a little bit, right? But then you look, you duplicate that, and then you go to your next level up. As long as your reward is greater than the risk potential, right, then you have that opportunity. Oops, you have that opportunity to potentially take the trade, right? So let's take a look here. The next level up is right here. Boom. So as long as your reward potential is greater than your risk potential, then it makes sense to make the attempt. And Netflix did this, right? And it gave a really, really nice move and actually left an upper shadow off of that level. So again, not a bad place to take profit, and then potentially move stops up to see if there's any more reward left in it, but not to lose money, right? So that's the idea. So using levels is a very, very powerful tool for determining risk reward and establishing targets. And why do we like to pick targets? So we can figure out what our risk reward is, right? To see if it makes sense, right? It doesn't make sense to enter a trade just because things are looking bullish, right? We see it all the time. They run into walls, right? They run into those walls, and it's like, okay, well, I'm risking like this much, say like here, right? Let's just say my risk on this candle right here was this much. Does it really make sense to enter at this point, right, to get to that point? Now, there were some opportunities in here where things were actually still kind of bullish on Netflix, where you could kind of look at this to look to get involved in these levels right here, and then as long as your risk reward potential to get to the next level up is greater, then you could look to enter. And in fact, that case right here, you did have a greater than a 1-to-1 risk reward, and it could make sense to take that trade. Okay, so levels, really, really powerful stuff. Yesterday we talked about gaps. Gaps themselves are basically levels in themselves, but very, very powerful stuff. So anyway, guys, hopefully you found that helpful. At this point now, if anybody's got any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can, try to wrap up as early as possible so we can all get a good night's sleep and have another awesome trading day tomorrow. So Shirley sent a few in via email. She got some great ones on the list, a lot of ones that I was looking at too. So let's take a look at those. So Shirley, hope you're doing great out there. Let's take a look at the key at QS. I think this is great. This one looks like a very, very bearish name. I think overall the market is pretty vulnerable right now. We talked about a couple weeks ago, we talked about how to evaluate the market, right? And we looked at different sectors, right? There's a lot of key sectors out there that are very weak, right? So you've got like your SMH, right? So this is the your semiconductors. These are leading sectors, right? So the SMH is really weak and closed below the ADMA today, right? Your transports, right? The IYT, weak, right? Looks like a bearish doji sandwich, right? Potential to the downside, right? So we're seeing a lot of weakness here. The XLF, right? So XLF also looking like a potential doji sandwich down below the ADMA, right? So there's a lot of weak sectors out there that weigh heavy on the market, right? And so when we look at that, right, and we start looking for short ideas, right, QS is really kind of standing out there. Increased volume, inside day down, break down below the ADMA with increased volume. So that's definitely an interesting one right there. Len, let's take a look at Len. Wow, home builder's getting crushed here a little bit, right? So you got your double tops up here. If we were looking for a level below, this gap was already filled, right? This kind of looks like an interesting level right here. It also corresponds to the bottom of the cloud, so that's looking pretty interesting there too. Let's take a look at Hood. Yeah, Hood kind of breaking down here a little bit finally. Maybe we'll start seeing some real selling pressure on this one. Big level on this one is right here, right about that 37 level, something like that. So keep an eye on that for Hood. See if we can work its way down there. I love seeing Hood. Who wants Hood to go to 0? Yeah, after they, Robin Hood, after they did all the meme names and got everybody, kind of messed up on that, right? And then they went and sold out and went public, right? So I'm sure there's a lot of folks that want to see that thing go down. So it could be interesting right there. The plugin names all very weak today, right? Your plug weak, charge point, right? All that stuff. Very, very weak names right there today. So good find on that one. And Twitter, oof. Big outside candle right there. Increased volume, close below the 80 MA. Although we're not talking about moving average this week, main moving averages are 200-day, 50-day, 80 MA. Can make interesting targets, right? And that 200-day looks like Twitter just wants to grab that thing too right there. And if you look at your pivot level right here, that's not too far away from it. So keep an eye on it. It's going to be a little bit of a tricky one. It's a big one in terms of risk reward, but definitely looking bearish. Good find on that one. Good stuff. Angelo, what's going on? Good to see you. AMC, speaking of meme names. So AMC, possible doji sandwich in the works right here. See if we can break over these highs and get going again. We do have a couple levels above. I'd really like to see it kind of clear some levels and maybe get going. If we can get above these highs in this level right here, you got a little bit of room to get up maybe to that 55 level. See how that goes here for AMC. And Wenchi, what's going on? Good to see you. Let's take a look at Apple. So Apple, we talked about the other day, double inside day up. And today, almost an outside day. It was almost a bearish engulfing candle today, but the real body closed just above yesterday's open. So it's looking a little bit weak, kind of like a little bit of a dent in the armor right there, but could just be kind of going sideways right now. So we just have to see it, but definitely was weighing heavy on the market today. So good find on that one there too. John Turner, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Let's take a look at PD. PD, wow, still working its way down into the gap there. SMG, possible doji sandwich on the downside. iRobot, still going sideways under the ADMA. ICPT, another doji there, right over the ADMA on that one. So see how that holds. Fubo, let's take a look. Fubo looking pretty nasty right there. Big breakdown here below the ADMA, increased volume, right? And then the joint, right? So joint corp right there, holding on to the ADMA so far, might be working on a bull flag. So good find on that one. The Nest, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Let's take a look at DOCN. DOCN, wow, nasty inside day down, but a bounce off of the ADMA on that one. The Big C, oof. Was getting strong the other day and then just complete flush on that one. Just took out a lot of stops today on that one. There's a lot of folks looking at that one. FSLY, still looking pretty weird right there, but FSLY could be bull flag right there, kind of hanging on to 80 maybe. Watch if it breaks down below today's lows. ONDS, big upper shadow on that one, so a little bit of caution there too. FTCH, another breakdown here below the 80 MA. Wow, a lot of weak names out there, guys. Really, really tricky stuff. Guys, the only strong sector today, and it wasn't even that strong, well, I guess it finished strong, got some volume at the end of the day, was the XLU, right? When the utilities are your strongest sector, right, there's some issues out there, right? So we'll just see how that goes going into tomorrow. But big bounce yesterday, right? So you had names like Dominion, right, which had a big push down to the 50-day moving average, and that was a big level, right? It ended up pushing its way back up, guess where? To the 8 EMA, right? So some pretty cool stuff there, too. Good stuff. Shreya, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Let's take a look at pins. So pins with a nice breakdown here below the 80 MA, kind of pulling back here a little bit. Roku, Kathy loaded up with about $18 million worth of shares yesterday and is down about 3% in that. How much is that, guys? I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot, right? But, you look at 18 million, and you're down 3%, right? So, you're looking like you're down about, $500,000, right? So that's tough, right? It makes for a tough day, right? So she keeps on loading up on this name, but there's no bullish setups, right? You're still below the ADMA, right? So pretty interesting stuff right there. But yeah, still weak here on Roku. Again, 300 has some potential on that one. And JMIA, a nasty break. Look at all these crazy volume spikes that this name has had recently. Big volume, big volume. It's like big money is trying to do something in this name, and at this point now, it looks like they're trying to get out. But we'll see. Cool stuff. Good finds on those. You got a couple other ones right here. Let's take a look at Vizio. Vizio kind of working its way down here, but the lower shadow is interesting with some volume on that one. It might be trying to hold on to a couple of these levels. And then ESTC. Wow, inside day gap down and then pushed with volume below the ADMA. So a little bit of caution on that one. Now, this thing needs an elastic move back up, right? So it's a big push there. And then Pool, we got a strong name. Nice. Yeah, pool decent, right? So hang on to the ADMA right here. So pool corp doing okay. Nice outside day today. See if it pushes those highs and continues to work its way up to all-time highs. So nice stuff. Good stuff. Great finds today, guys. Really appreciate it. Again, you put some good stuff on my radar. Hopefully, you guys helped each other find some stuff for your radar too. And hopefully, you guys found this discussion helpful today. We're going to wrap up tomorrow with one more cool thing about checking targets. And I think you guys are going to like it. Hey, Comlev, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So you got Tesla. I love it. We got to get a Tesla in here. Tesla with a potential hanging man today. Potential hanging man here. It is above the 80, but I'm actually surprised it gapped up today with the big upper shadow yesterday, but it did, right? And then it gave a nasty down move, and then they bought the dip, right? Today's intraday action was pretty interesting. Kind of came all the way down to our zone right here. We're gonna be talking about soon, but then it gave us a nice little inverse head and shoulders off this level and gave a nice move up, right? So it hung in there, right? But it also looks like a little bit of a hanging man right there. So the market gets weak, right? Keep an eye on Tesla and see if it gets any headwinds into any market price action. So good stuff there. Anyway, guys, great request tonight. Really appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hopefully, you guys have been finding this series helpful. We'll be back here again tomorrow night. We got really cool stuff we're going to talk about tomorrow, too. And I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. And thanks, everybody, again, for tuning in. We'll see everybody bright and early right here on YouTube for the Good Morning Market Prep video. And we'll see you guys on Twitter as well. And again, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I hope everybody has a great evening. Stay healthy out there. And remember your risk first and stay safe. See you